So by the end of this session, you're going to know kind of what's the market doing, how much are homes costing around, what do you need to purchase a home? Do you need to be debt free? Like, do I need to have literally zero debt in order to buy a house before I can even start that process? And student loans, because they are coming back. We have to start paying those babies. So does that affect us or not? We've lived well for the past 2 years. Some of us, I had to pay through it, unfortunately. Um, so the 7 steps to home ownership. Step one would be knowing your numbers. And that's pretty much what this success plan and this program is about, is to help you really understand the numbers, because everything else in the home buying process, you have a team of people to help you figure that out and to work with you. You're not alone for the rest of the steps, but figuring out your numbers, it's something that you can have a financial advisor help you with. You can even have a lender help you with, or a family member. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for your numbers. So that's why we focus on it, because you have to know how to manage your money in order to go to the next step. So you're going to build your team. You're going to be submitting offers, going through that inspection process and negotiating with your agent. You're going to be signing purchase and sales. And people, they don't realize it, but the lenders dig into your finances with a fine-tooth comb and go over everything. They look at your bank statement. They look at everything. So you're not going to hide anything. So make sure that from the beginning, you set everything up to be successful, because time you get to step 6, it could all fall apart if you were trying to hide something. Okay. So making sure we have everything in order, and then you're a homeowner. So that's kind of the 7 steps I like to say to home ownership. And like I said, we always start with knowing your finances. So what's happening in the market right now? You guys have seen home prices go ridiculous in the past 2 years, and now they're slowing down. So it's not a market where buyers just throw out a number and the seller says, yep, I'll take that, over asking $100,000. We're not really seeing that as much anymore. It's starting to stabilize a little bit, and that's because interest rates have been increasing. So looking at what the market has done in the last 6 months, I just picked a few neighborhoods and a few towns to show you guys. We're looking at the most affordable neighborhoods in Boston. What are the prices, right? So for 2-bedroom condos, you're looking at in the 300s to the 400s is kind of the median price of condos in Boston. We're looking at single families. They are clearly in the $500,000 and $600,000 range. For single families, those are 3 bedrooms, up to 2,000 square feet is kind of what the numbers I'm giving you guys are typical. And if you find things that are a lot more affordable, it's usually because it's not brand new construction. It might be something that needs some work, or it's just in basic move-in condition without all the fancy, right? So the higher the prices, they have a little bit more bells and whistles in them. And then 3 families, those prices have started to come down a little bit as well. You see that they're in the high 900s. Some of them are still in the $1 million range, but they're starting to come down. You see for Mattapan, there's one at 720. I'm telling you now, 3 families are not in the 700s in Boston anywhere. That price is a home or a couple homes that sold that needed work. So the buyer of those knew they were purchasing it at a discount because they're going to have to go in there and do some renovations, right? So understanding why things happen and why the prices are the way they are, wanted to show you guys that. We look at some of the other towns where we see people who are leaving Boston are purchasing in. And for Attleboro, we see the price range from about 300,000 all the way up to 500,000 for between a condo and a 3-family. And for Brockton, we're looking at about 250 for the condos, all the way up to just around 700 for a 3-family. And those prices across the board haven't increased pretty much statewide. I'd say nationwide. Everyone has seen dramatic increases in sales prices over the past 2 years. So these are our new numbers, what they look like. As if interest rates keep going up, you'll see these numbers start to come down just a little bit. And in the next few slides, you'll understand a little bit more of why that is, okay? So here, this is showing you guys literally just your principal and interest. When you have a mortgage, you usually have to pay principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So those are the 4 things that make up your housing payment when you become a homeowner. As a renter, you're paying those 4 things, but for the landlord, not for you. Now you're paying it for you, right? So this chart is showing you just principal and interest. You're just paying the actual loan and nothing extra. Took me a while to make this spreadsheet for you guys, but I think it's important so you can see what's happened in the market over the past 2 years. So let's say the typical price right now, especially if you're buying in or around Boston, is around $500,000 for a single family. So let's say that's what you're trying to purchase, right? We're going to look at the $500,000 purchase price. When the pandemic was in full swing, interest rates dropped, right? So they were around 2%, 3% people were getting, were able to purchase homes for. Let's look at what that is. So just their principal and interest, they were paying about $2,100 a month for principal and interest at a $500,000 purchase price. Today, the market is closer to 6.5%, 6.3 right now. So let's scroll on over. We're still at the $500,000 purchase price, and I'll go at 6% interest, okay? Nothing changed. The price didn't change. The seller still wants the same amount. Interest rate is the only thing that changed. You see that went from $2,100 to $3,000 a month. So this is why you see the prices starting to adjust, because people can no longer afford that purchase price, right? So at $500,000 at a 3% interest rate, I'm paying $2,100 a month. Now at a 6% interest rate, same house, I'm paying $3,000 a month. So that's an increase of over $900 just because interest rates went up, okay? And that does not include taxes and insurance. So you still have to add those back on to see what your monthly payment would be. So I wanted to give you guys an idea so you see where these numbers are coming from and how they play into the whole home buying process. Because a lot of people, when you go on Zillow, all you see is that big purchase price, right? Or when you talk to a loan officer, they tell you $500,000. What does that mean for your bottom line? Because you live on the monthly, right? I need to cut a check. Does that check match my paycheck, right? So that's why we did the breakdown, so you can start to take a look at that. So now we know, and I'm going to use the $500,000 mark to help us understand the numbers, but you can, let me go back 1 second. If you guys want to take a moment, if we're assuming we're at about 6% interest rate right now, if you want to see where you're comfortable with paying like the amount per month, then keep that number in mind for the sales price before I go to the next slide. So look in this column right here, and then line that up with the sales price that you want. Keep that number in mind. And I'm going to go to the next slide so that now you can see roughly how much you need to save for a down payment to purchase. Okay. So I'm going to use $500,000. You have your number in mind already. So at $500,000, there are a lot of different loan products out there and down payment assistance programs out there to help you. We're going to learn that not next month, the month after. We're going to have a loan officer come in and break down all the different, there's tons of products out there. There's something for everyone. So as long as you are employed and you make decent income, you can buy a house, right? We can figure out how to make that happen. Now it's how much do I need to save to make that dream a reality? So let's say we are going with a program where you're only required to bring 1.5% of the purchase price to buy the house. At $500,000, that means you need to save $7,500 to make that happen. Now, if you're in a program where you need 3.5%, you need to save $17,500 to make that dream a reality, because you need to have that down payment money, right? And something that a lot of buyers don't think about when they're purchasing a home, they only think of down payment. There's something called closing cost. And that is additional funds that you need when you're purchasing a home to pay for your attorney fees, some of the lender points, for your insurance. There are a lot of things that you have to pay for in full before you can close. So that we estimate to be about 2%. We tell people try to save that amount. So I put that in the last column for you. Easy math. I try to make it where you don't have a lot of thinking to do. It's already been done. And you guys are going to get a copy of this after the presentation, so you don't have to worry about jotting this part down. It'll be sent to you, so you have all the numbers worked out already. So as you can see, at $500,000, I need to save between $7,500 up to $25,000 to make this dream a reality, depending on what program, right? So that gives you an idea of how much money you need to save. So now let's assume it's January, and I'm saying I need to buy a house by next January. So in 12 months, I need to save money so that I have enough for my down payment so I can buy a house. Let's do some math and see what does that look like and how long does it take me to get there. So if you said by the end of the year, Denisha, I need to save $10,000. So in the next 12 months, I need to save 10 grand. Okay, so now what does that look like? That means every month you need to save about $833 to accomplish your goal by December 31st, right? You know, and we'll go through the budget based on your finances if that's realistic or not. So if you see that you cannot save that much, there's a few things that has to happen. You either need to earn more money at your job, you need to get a promotion, you need to have a second job, or we need to expand our timeline. So we see there's no way I can earn extra money to make this $800 a month. Then I need to see how long it's going to take me to actually reach my goal based on how much I save. Okay. In the packet that you guys are going to receive after this, the diagram to the right is a copy of a savings challenge, right? And this is to help people visually track how their savings is coming along. So let's say you determine that you're trying to save $100 a month or $100 a week, or I don't know, $1,000 a month, however you set it up, because it's based on how much your budget tells you you can do. Every time you save $100, you color one of the houses in red or whatever color you want. So this lets you know that as you get closer to your goal, you'll see more of the houses colored and just a few left that still needs to be colored, right? So it helps you have a visual, whether it's on your refrigerator, whether it's on your bathroom mirror, whether it's in your office or on your desk, so that you see it and you can see and track your progress visually, right? So sometimes it's not always about the numbers. Like, how can I make this so it's not so boring? How can I make this so that I'm more engaged and excited about it, right? Crossing things out gets some people excited. So we have that savings tracker for you guys so that you can visually see that you're getting closer to your goal. So like I said before, it's not just about saving for down payment money with a house, right? Even if you found a program that has a 0% down, so all of the down payment money you're getting from somewhere else, you still need to have money. Why? Because when you're purchasing a home, most times you probably want to have a home inspection. They don't do that based on you pay it after the fact. You have to pay that ahead of time. So that's usually 300 to 500, depending on the size of the house, depending on if it's a multi or a single. That cost varies, right? So we'll say around 300, you need to have that saved. You have to do a home appraisal. That's where the bank says, okay, you wanted to offer them $500,000. Does the appraiser say the home is worth $500,000? So now you have to pay for that appraiser to go out there and take a look at the house. Again, these prices are just to give you an idea. So let's say that's about $500 for your appraisal. You need to have that money up front to pay for it. Now, like I said before, you also have closing costs. So this is money that you need to have saved and set aside so that you're cutting that check closer to the closing date. Some other things that people don't think about in the moment, unless you have friends who are going to help you move for, pizza and beers or pizza and a drink, you have to pay a moving company, right? It's a little bit more expensive these days. So moving companies, depending on who you use, depending on how far you're moving to, let's say that's about between $500 and $1,000. And it can be a whole lot more depending on how much stuff you have to move and where you're going, right? You have that. And then now you're becoming a homeowner. Depending on the condition of the home that you're buying, you should probably have some money saved in case anything happens, or if you're going into it knowing you're going to be doing some repairs. Okay? You always want to have more money saved because you never know what's going to happen. There's no one calling the landlord anymore. It's you. When I was an active agent, I had a client where we did the final walkthrough the day before their closing, and thank the Lord, the water heater broke right before we got there. So the basement started to get water in it. Because that happened before we closed, the owner had to fix that. The seller had to go put in a whole new water tank, clean out the basement to make sure it was clean and new and spick and span for the owners, for the buyers. Had that happened the day after we closed, it would be the buyer's responsibility because now they own the home, right? It's no longer the seller's responsibility. So that easily could have been $1,000 plus that they had to come up with right after closing because that happened. So this is why we always want to make sure we have money on hand so that we can cover these expenses. So I have here SMART goals. I think a lot of people know what those are or what it stands for. But again, it's just making sure that your goal, so you're saying, I want to be a homeowner, making sure that it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's timely. So what does that look like? It's not, I want to buy a house. Okay. Most people want to buy a house. By when? Do you have a date by when you want to do this? Do you have metrics? Like, how is this going to be possible? So I want to buy a house by January 1st, 2024. That's your goal. How are you going to get there? I'm going to save $500 a month so that I have enough for my down payment. And you start writing down all the things that you need to do so that it's a reminder to you on that goal of, I want to buy a house by January 1st, 2024. You're starting to write down your action items under that to make sure you are focused on that goal, okay? Let me see if there are any questions so far. I'm just taking a moment to see if there are any questions related to what I'm discussing right now. Okay, perfect. So everyone's heard the word budget. It's not sexy. It's not something we ever want to talk about or do, but it's very necessary in life, especially now because of inflation, because we're in a recession. All of these things, we need to be managing our money like never before. And quite simply put, it's just tracking your money, right? Balancing your income versus your expenses. And in a perfect world, what we should have is that our income is greater than all of our expenses, right? So we should have money saved. If you're in survival mode, that means you're ultimately living paycheck to paycheck, right? The amount of money you're bringing home at the end of the day, you have nothing left over because all of it went to paying your bills. You have nothing saved, nothing left over. That's not safe because if any emergencies happen, you're putting it on a credit card or you're stranded because you have to solve that problem and you're maxed out everywhere. So where is that money coming from? So you want to make sure that we're building strong financial and money habits so that that's not your situation. And that can also be a strategy. They call it like a zero-based budget where you align. So one of your items, one of your expenses would be your savings to make sure that you're actually setting money aside to save every month. And of course we have, if you're in trouble, that means you're in the red. Your income does not match your expenses and you are over and bleeding and hemorrhaging every month. We don't want that for anyone. And I've seen people do that and we had to dig them out of that hole. And the goal is, let's get you to zero. Let's get you to survival because you're not even surviving right now. Like you're just on a ticking time bomb. So let's get you to zero. And now let's figure out how to get you into the positive. So baby steps, let's get there and see what we need to do, okay? So you are tracking your spending and you're trying to create a budget. What does that look like? Well, you need to grab all of your income, all of your sources of income. Let's track how much that is. So if you're a W-2 employee, you're grabbing that. If you're a 1099 employee and you have, not employee, but you have commissions coming in, you're tracking that. Any alimony, child support, disability benefits, any money that you have coming in, we're tracking that, we're counting that as your income, right? Because we need to use that to help pay off your debt and get you in a position to buy. understanding not all of it may count for a lender, but we'll talk about that later. And then for your expenses, we say gather your past 3 months of bank statements and credit card statements and your student loans, everything, because we want to see your habits over the past 3 months, right? If I spent $1,000 last month because I had to get a new laptop, that's not my spending habit, right? That's just I had an expense that month. So looking at just that one time is not an accurate depiction of my habits. So over 3 months, we can see, well, how much do you usually average dining out? How much do you usually spend on your cell phone bill? Are you over because you went over your data? Are you roaming because you traveled? Like what's happening, right? So we can start to see what your habits are over the past 3 months and take the average of that so that we know where you should be. And then on the flip side, if you have to pay child support or you have to pay alimony, those are now expenses that count against you, right? Because these are things that money leaving, money going out is what we have. So you guys will get a copy of this budget worksheet, pretty simple here. And it's just showing you money in. So you're tracking all of your sources of income. You're tracking money out. So the different categories of your expenses. And then what's left over really should be your savings. So like I said, money in, your different streams. When you're working with a lender and you're going to get a pre-approval, it's important to note they base your life on gross. So before taxes, before FICA, before health insurance, before daycare, before everything, right? They base your income on your gross. So what your employer said that they're going to pay you, that's what they base it on. You need to remember that you live on your net income. So after all those things come out of your paycheck, that's what you live on. So a lot of times you'll see the lender may pre-approve you for $500,000, right? And let's say that payment is $3,000, but you know, after all of your expenses, all you can afford is closer to about $2,000, right? You need to let the lender know that your budget, your monthly budget is $2,000 so that they can adjust your pre-approval to match your budget, right? Because they're looking at the gross. They don't know that you have childcare. They don't know that you have after school or other activities, or you're taking care of someone else so that you have other expenses outside of what shows up on your credit report. So you have to advocate for yourself so that you're not house poor. And I saw a lot of that in the past 2 years where people were so excited they have to buy a home, and they forgot about their actual budget. So then they get to the closing table and their payments are a lot higher than they expected and that they really were comfortable with. So now they have to make sure that, okay, now I have to work 2 jobs. Now I have to work 3 jobs to make sure I can cover this. Don't put yourself in those situations unless you have a plan to move forward, because anything can happen and now you're putting yourself in jeopardy. I never want people to be house poor. That's not a great way to live, okay? So make sure that you remember you live on your net income, but they base all of their calculations on your gross income, okay? And then also using a second job, a side hustle, as a way to pay off debt. That's a great strategy. You'll learn when we talk about the different loan products and from a lender's perspective, what they look at. That income may or may not count. If you've been doing it for less than 2 years, it's not going to count as qualifying income for a mortgage, but you can use that income to pay off your debt. And you can use that income for your down payment, to save for your down payment, right? So it's used like, what are all the strategies to help you get ahead? So you're like, well, I'm going to pick up, Uber, or I'm going to pick up extra shifts, or I'm going to do XYZ. Not forever. It's so that I can pay off my debt and that I can save to buy my home. It's a great goal. So now we know money coming in. We got all of that documented. Money going out. What are all the things where I have to spend money and give somebody my money, right? It's leaving me and going to you. So that's rent, that's car payments, that's student loans, that's your cell phone, that's your internet. We call those things fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are things where you know it's predictable. Every month, it's the same amount. It doesn't change unless something drastic happens. It's the same amount every single month. So you can easily budget for that because the number doesn't change, right? Let's say it all adds up to $2,000. You need to make sure you have a minimum of $2,000 in your bank account because that is guaranteed to come out every month. Okay. Now we have variable expenses. And those are the things that, depending on how you use it or how often you use it or how much you use, the cost may vary, right? So that's gas, right? That's groceries, that's entertainment, that's your utilities, that's shopping, that's your credit card balance. Those things tend to change and fluctuate, go up and down from month to month. You can change some of those things into fixed expenses if you budget, right? So if you know gas is about $50 a week is what you're spending to fill your tank. So that's about $200 a month that you need for gas. You can budget for that. And let's say, you're planning on the weekends, you're going to be driving and doing Uber or doing something extra or going out with your family. Let's say now your budget needs to be $250 or $300 so that you have enough to cover that and you're not going to go over. Set that aside as a line item. So that becomes a fixed expense of gas at $500, right? Because we knew it was $400 before. That's your gas expense. Groceries. I had to do this for myself because our grocery bill was ridiculous. I am a victim of the buy one, get one free. I didn't make a list. I went to the grocery store. I knew the things I needed. Then those darn buy one, get one frees get you. And you're like, that is a good deal. I need to stock up on this thing. I need to get that. And now your pantry's full of these things that you're not really using. But it was buy one, get one free. You went over your budget. So I was a victim of that. I'm better now. I make a list. So your groceries can become a fixed expense because now you say, I'm only spending $300 or $400 a month on groceries. If it's not on the list, I'm not getting it. And you have to be strong in that, where it's like, if it's not on the list, I'm not getting it. So that helps you bring that into the fixed expenses and help you not overspend in the long run by creating that strategy for yourself. So there's a way to make your variable expenses become fixed expenses and you can budget for that. You just have to commit to yourself. Okay. It's no easy way. You have to commit that that's what you're going to do. Okay. So now the money left over after you got your income minus your expenses is technically what you have to save or to invest, right? That's the money for your house. How do we get more of it? So if I don't have another job, or I can't do another job, I can't do 4 jobs. Now I'm working a full-time and a whole bunch of part-times. I can't do anything else. I'm not even sleeping. What do I need to do? Well, we need to start cutting things, right? So you need to block your favorite e-tailers. So if you know you're getting emails from Macy's, you're getting emails from Kohl's, you're getting emails from all these other companies, and you are susceptible to the sale, where you're going to click on it and buy whatever's on sale because it's cheaper than what it was the original price, which is all a marketing tool. Unsubscribe so you don't get those emails, right? If social media is your weakness because you're following different influencers or different people who are always shopping and they're tempting you, get out of that. Get away from all of your temptations so that you're stronger, because your goal is to buy a home. And I'll show you guys later why, of all the years that you should buckle down and make this literally your year of focus, there's so much money out there. And this is one of those once in a lifetime, because of COVID, there's a lot of down payment grants, not loans, grants out there. This is the year where you need to focus so that you have access to that and you don't get prepared after all the money's gone. Okay. This will shorten your timeline of how soon you can buy a home if you focus. So I'm glad that you guys are here tonight, because there's a lot of money out there and I need you to focus on your finances like never before. This is not one of those live your best summer, we outside. Like, you might need to be inside. You might need to be on the porch this summer so that you can save, so that you can buy your house. Okay. Just for a little bit. It's just for a couple months, for a year. I need you to focus, right? No outside this year, because we could be outside in our actual backyard, gaining all that equity in a year or two. That is the goal. And that's what I want you to focus on. Okay. So that might mean you're doing it yourself. So I have locks. This started 2020 when the will was shut down. I wanted to pay someone to do it. And they said, oh, your hair's long, so you're going to start at $1,200. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I sat, and every day I'd do a little patch, and I started my locks myself. $0 time. The will was shut down. I sat and did my hair. And I did my daughter's hair. So she has locks too. So I saved technically $2,400 by doing it myself. I pay to have someone tighten mine because I can't do it myself, but I do my daughter's. That's another $120 a month. So I don't pay that for her. And for me, I stretch it. So I do mine every 6 to 8 weeks as opposed to every 4 weeks, and I get yelled at. But I'm like, my budget said I can't see you every month. Like, I can't do that. So I can come every 6 to 8 and we'll figure it out. Right? So again, you manage your money how you need to. So I learned to do a lot of things myself. And then I just extend the timeline of whatever else it is that's safe and healthy for my hair. I can do 120 every 6 to 8 weeks, but not every month. Can't do that. Okay. Try to see if you can go cardless for a month. So if you know you were a swiper, no swiping. Maybe leave that credit card at home, right? If you know you're always swiping and you're not keeping track of it and it makes you overspend, maybe you need to operate in cash. So that if your budget is $200 that you have to spend on whatever every month, don't depend on your card because you might go over. Walk with cash so that when you see that cash running down, you'll make some tough decisions because you ain't got no more money for the rest of the month. You have to figure it out, right? So cashless and not cashless, cardless and using cash is a way to help you stay on target and stay on budget. And then a long-term strategy is bi-weekly payments. So I pay my car note every week. Every week, the bank sends them money because it cuts down on the amount of interest that I'm paying on my car over the length of the loan, right? So my car payment is, say, $200. Mine's actually $250. It's like $62, I think, $62.50 I send every month. I break it down. So every week they're getting a check for a quarter of that amount, right? So let's say it's $200. That means every week they're going to get a check for $50 that's going towards my car payment. It's the same amount, so it's not any inconvenience to me, but over the life of my loan, I'm saving money because every time they charge interest, it's on less money because I kept paying $50 on my principal every week, right? So that's a long-term strategy of how to pay off your debt. So I do that for my student loans. I do that for my car payments. And that's a great strategy when you become a homeowner that maybe you pay every other week. So you split your mortgage payment in two as opposed to paying it once a month. Just a strategy to help you. Next, we have to get good at understanding wants versus needs. Sometimes our wants try to trick us and make us feel like they're in need, but they're in a need, right? So like I want to eat pizza because I'm hungry, right? The need is food. The need is not pizza. The need is food. So if I have food in my house to cook something or make a sandwich or do something, right? There's food available. But then that want, because I really want the pizza, I'm craving the pizza, that want started to feel more like a need and you did it. Because you're like, I don't want to cook. I don't have time to cook. I'm going to just do pizza. So you just gave up between what, $7 and $15? How many times do you do that a week or a month, right? That you're giving up as opposed to depositing that into your new home fund. You're giving it to Domino's or whoever so they could go buy a jet. I don't know if it makes sense, right? That's how I look at things. I'm like, if I'm not giving it to myself, I'm helping you build your wealth. I'm helping you go on vacation. I can't take vacation because I don't have any money saved. Not going to work. So make sure that your needs and your wants, you understand the difference, right? Not all wants are needs, but they can trick us sometimes. Okay. Make sure you're implementing that 24-hour rule so you're not spending too much. You wait a day and see if you really wanted that thing. And then something that helped me and helped some clients was really looking at eliminating shopping as a hobby or as therapy, as we like to say, and looking at it as a cost, right? So if, let's say you want to buy a pair of shoes and it's $75, is that shoe worth you working 5 hours to get? Because now you're putting your time, is it worth it, right? I have to work 5 hours, like almost a whole day to buy these shoes. Is it worth it for me to do that or not? Start changing how you look at your spending and why you're spending to hopefully help you cut back on those things, okay? So again, tackling your debt, you need a goal. We talked about that before, and you need a budget. When you look at your expenses and you look at your how much you have coming in, you have to make adjustments, right? What can I do to save money within what I have right now? I spoke with a young lady yesterday, and thankfully she has a budget, but her weakness is she loves to dine out with her friends and she's susceptible to peer pressure. So if her friends say, hey, let's go out Friday night for drinks, she's like, in my head, I'm only going to get a drink and some fries or something. So that's $20, $30. She's like, but sometimes I end up spending $100. I'm like, we need to fix that, right? So she says she spends on average about $400 a month. And I challenged her. I'm like, your goal for the month of April is to spend $250. So we're not going to take it all away and say, don't go anywhere, because that's hard. Still have fun, but now just actually stick within the budget. And you have to use cash. Like, you can't use a card. So all you have is your $250 that you pull out the cash every time you decide you're going out. And when it's done, you're staying home. And she said, we're going to try that and see how it works, right? The budget is to help you stay on task. You're going to keep looking at your spreadsheet or at your chart and making adjustments. What can I do? Can you call your phone company and see if there's a better plan available? Can you call your credit card company and say, hey, I've never missed a payment. I've been a great customer for the past 10 years. Do you think you could lower my interest rate? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no. Now it's a little bit harder. Every year, I call twice a year, and I get my interest rate reduced for my credit cards. Right now, because we're in a recession, a little bit different, but they have given people back money on payments, like on the interest rate. They give that back to them and put it as a credit on their account. Making the phone call costs you 5-10 minutes of your time, but it can save you money in the long run. Make the call, okay? Something that lenders look for, and I want you guys to pay attention to, is your debt to income ratio. How much money are you putting out to pay creditors? It shows up on your credit report, versus how much money are you bringing in? And they're looking at that because they're like, can you afford more debt? If you have maxed out credit cards, you have student loans, you have a car payment that's pretty high, can you afford a mortgage? I don't know if I want to lend you money if you're going to be literally house poor, like you have nothing left over. They're not going to lend you money. So general starting point would be, we want you to be at 45% or less, really in the 30s, for being honest, not even in the 40s. So when you add up your monthly payments for your credit cards, student loans, car payments, your mortgage, so what that cost is going to be, all of your debt that shows up on your credit report needs to be less than 45% of your income. That is when they say, we'll take a chance on you. When you are over that, because there are some people who are at 60, 70% of their income going towards debt, they're not going to lend you money because anything happens in life and you're done, right? So we need to do the math to figure out that those numbers work. So here I have an example. Let's assume you're making $72,000 a year, okay? You have a car payment of $400, credit card payments of $200, student loans of $200, and then we're estimating for your mortgage about $2,000 a month. That's your max, your budget for housing, right? And that could be, right now you're looking at it as your rent and you want that to be your same amount for your mortgage. You can look at it that way. When we add all of that up, that's $2,800 a month. We take that as a percent of your gross income, and that's 46% of your income goes towards living, according to the bank. Because if you have kids, that's not documented. Like, that's still, you still have to have money set aside for all those other things. But anything that shows up on your credit report is what they're looking at, 46% of your income. We just talked about having it be below 45. Okay, so now let's go, how can I change that? Let's call and see, I have great credit. Can I get my car refinanced, right? Okay, let's say I called and they said, yep, you can go from that $400 payment to $250 because you've been paying down on your car, so your loan is less. And now we can lower your payments according to that. So now you dropped your loan to $250. You're on it, you're doing Uber Eats, you were doing Lyft, you were hustling, and you're able to pay off most of your credit cards. So now your credit card payments are down to $100 a month as opposed to $200. Your student loans, you called and you said, hey, can I get on an income-based repayment plan so that it's not so high for me? And they say, let's see if you're eligible. And you are. So now your student loans are down to $90 a month. I have no idea if that's the actual number. If you're making 72,000, I just put a number in there. And now your housing cost is still $2,000, right? That's the market. So we add all of that up and we're able to drop that payment to $23.90 a month. That means by doing those few things, you were able to go from 46% of your income to 40% of your income going towards your debt. So that's your new debt to income ratio, right? And that means that you're saving $310 a month by doing those things. You have the option that $310 can go into saving to help you pay for your down payment, to go towards your down payment, or you can use that $310 to pay off debt so that you can get that percentage down even more so that you can save for your house. So there's a lot of strategy that can be in there, but it's definitely one of those things where you're going to be talking to a financial advisor or a housing counselor. You're scheduling those meetings to figure out, well, what's the best strategy for me in this moment, given all my numbers, okay? And my goal is just to help you guys. These are the things that you need to be paying attention to when you want to buy a house. So one of the strategies is a debt snowball. And I think you guys know about that. It's like taking all of your debt, you're paying the minimum every month on them, and any extra money that you have, you're going to throw it towards the lowest debt. So if you have a credit card that's $50 a month, one's that $100 a month, one's that's $200 a month, you're going to throw all your extra money at the one that's $50 a month. Once that's paid off, you're going to take, because we know it was $50, you're going to take that 50 and whatever extra and throw it towards the next debt, which is $100 a month. So that's going to go up to $150 minimum that you're going to pay towards that card. By doing that, it's like a snowball where it starts off small and it rolls downhill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's going to help you pay off all of your debt. The caveat is you cannot go back in debt, right? So if you paid off a credit card, don't start using it again, because then it doesn't work. The math is not mathing anymore. So we have to make sure if we're paying things off, we're paying it off, okay? Student loans, it's coming back. It's been dormant for the past 2.5 years. Until then, for some people, if you're still dormant and you haven't started repaying those yet, it needs to show up on your credit report as a payment. If it is not on your credit report, the lender is going to use either 0.5% or a full percent of your total loan to calculate what that monthly payment is going to be, and it's going to kill you. Like, it's never been good for anyone. It will take you out, most people, out of home buying, period. So if you know that you're getting ready to buy, and the repayment plans have not restarted yet, which I think they should be soon, then you actually need to call your servicer and ask them what those payments will be and get a letter so that it's documented for your loan officer, or you need to start making those payments again so that it shows up on your report so they can record whatever that amount is, whether it's $200 a month, $50 a month. I've seen some people with $8 a month in student loan payments. Like, it needs to show up on your credit report so that they can calculate that as part of your debt to income ratio. Okay? So we have those, again, like those two options when you're getting ready to make a purchase, or you're like, I'm ready to start the home buying process. Don't forget student loans. Even though you're not required to make a payment right now in life, to get a mortgage, they want to see it. Why? Because by the time you buy a house, these student loans are going to come back into play, and they want to make sure that you can afford the mortgage in addition to this, so that you're not going to get foreclosed on in a year or 2 or 3. They want to make sure that you are financially secure so that you can buy the house. So I want you guys to get in the habit of tracking. So you'll have this spreadsheet or this chart in the packet as well, where every month I want you documenting your income, what's your credit score, what's your credit utilization. So what percent of your credit you're using every month, how much you have saved, tracking everything so you can see how you're doing month over month and how close you're getting to your ultimate goal. It's really important that you're tracking it so that you can see what you need to improve upon or not. Next month, we're going to talk about credit. So it's going to be all about the credit strategies and the things that you need to do so you can track this more accurately. But again, these aren't things where I want you guys to listen and be like, that was informative, and then not do anything. I need you to put these things into action today because there's a lot of money out there, a lot of money that I want you to have access to within the next 12 months, right? Some of them are. We're going to go over it in detail with the lender in the future, but for now, just to give you perspective, we have the city of Boston. If you are buying in Boston, there is a grant where they will give you 5% of the purchase price of the house up to $50,000, right? So 5% of the purchase price to help you buy. So that's towards your down payment. It's a grant. So you don't have to pay it back. That's instant equity, right? You don't have to work for that. You just have to make sure you had a job, your credit was good, you don't have a lot of debt. That's your requirement to get this money. And you live in Boston. So you need to live in Boston. You need to either live in Boston, work in Boston, or moved out of Boston in the last 2 years. So it's like a 2-year cap on you still qualifying for this. There's a Match Dreams program, right? If you're using MHP or the One Mortgage, Match Dreams is still available to you so that you would have 5% of the purchase price up to $50,000 to help you purchase a home. The beauty is you can combine these two. So that's 10% in down payment money available to you that you could use to purchase a home right now in the city of Boston, because you can combine these. Match Dreams is available statewide. It's 29 cities that count, so you have to look at the list to see which ones, but if you buy in any of those, you qualify for this 5% down payment money. Alston Brighton, they have a program available as well. They're giving you 5% of the purchase price. Their caveat, you need to buy in Alston Brighton, so in their neighborhood, and they'll give you the money. And then Stash. So if you take your first time home buyers class, one of the HUD and CHAPA approved programs, if you save $2,000, they're willing to match that, pretty much like a 10x, up to $20,000 to give you towards the purchase of your home. That's a grant as well. That's amazing. For the Stash program, you need to be a first generation first-time home buyer. So that means your parents or your family could not have owned in the past. You're the first one to buy a house. So this is a great opportunity for you as well. And then there's still but most cities and towns across Massachusetts also have down payment assistance programs available for their residents or people moving into their town. So depending on where you want to buy, there's more money available. Brockton has money, Chelsea has money, Somerville has, we can look it up, and I have a chart of all of those places as well, where again, there is money out there. And a lot of this is because of COVID, right? There's a lot of money that the government was giving away. And now these cities and these towns, they have to spend it within a certain amount of time or else it's lost. So they're trying to just give it away. They're like, how can we do as much good in this timeline as possible? So I don't want you guys to miss it. Please, please, please. I think you guys got this. For your budgeting and savings, you can start working on that. Feel free to reach out if you need help with figuring it out. But this is your time. This is one of the best times, in spite of the interest rates and what's going on. There's so much money out there if you focus, and if you have a lot of debt, you literally drill down on paying that down, you can buy. What they did was say, focus on your debt and we'll focus on the down payment. That's literally what the state said. You focus on your debt and we'll focus on helping you with that down payment money, right? Meet us halfway. And that's what I want you guys to do. So your homework, when you get the replay, you can rewatch it, but you also have the packet, is to start working on your budget spreadsheet, to start figuring out what's your savings capacity. Based on your budget, how much can you save a month? So now we start plotting out that timeline of when will I have enough to buy the house? And then it's also, if I see I can't do it in this timeline, how much do I need to extend my timeline, or can I pick up extra hours at work? Can I do a side hustle to get enough money so I can reach this goal faster? I don't want you to miss all this grant money out there. I really don't. Okay. So I want you guys to get in the habit of tracking everything. That's everything. I hope it was informative and simple for you guys. Let me know what questions you have, and I'll go through the comments or the chat right now. Should I decrease my 401k contribution to increase my salary per check? Should I do this or leave it as is? I'm asking because the tax ratio changes. I would say that is something you work out with your tax professional or with your financial advisor, because they will know more of your situation. Even with your 401k, you can borrow from your 401k to buy a house. So it is one of those allowable uses before retirement that you could use. But again, that is something you do in communication with your not HR, but your financial advisor, or your tax professional, to figure out what makes more sense for your situation, because they only allow you to borrow your money, right? So you can't borrow, like, let's say you've put in $10,000 and however they were investing your money was amazing, and now you have $50,000 because you made 40 grand off of it. They're not going to allow you to touch the 40, but you can touch your 10 because that's your money. Okay. So you can borrow against it. I would say that's where you talk to your financial advisor or your tax professional to figure out what to do with your 401k, because it does impact you, but they know your situation. Yep. So yes, you'll have access to all of the presentations. I'm not sure where they are, but Desiree can help you with that. Hold on one moment. My kids are having a meltdown. 1 second. What are your thoughts on the avalanche method? It moves faster and saves more money in the long run. So yes, so the avalanche method is amazing as well. I didn't put it because I didn't want to confuse too many people. The snowball method is you start with your smallest debt and then you pay it off till you get to the largest debt. The avalanche method is you start with the highest interest rate debt and you pay that off first, and then you kind of work your way down to the next one. That one may take a little bit longer depending on if the higher interest rate debt is also your highest debt, right? Because it'll take you longer to get there. But in the long run, you actually save more money. So you'll save money in terms of interest payments by doing that. I focus on the avalanche method because I don't like giving money away. But if it is a lot of people, when they're starting off with budgeting and paying off debt, they need to see the small wins, right? They need to see that they paid off a card, and that motivates them to stick to it. That's why we tend to recommend the snowball method when you're starting off. But if you're gung ho and you're like, I just need to chop away at this 30% interest rate credit card, go for it. That's what I do. I start with the highest interest rate because I don't like giving away free money. Do you know if there's similar grants in other states? It depends on the state. I would do a Google search for the state that you're thinking of buying in, because every state is different. Everyone has some sort of down payment assistance. What it looks like varies. So I know in Maryland, for example, they actually have a program where they help you pay off your student loans so that you can qualify for a mortgage. So they have a special formula that they use. So you get down payment assistance, but they also wrap in like your student loans that they pay it off when you close on the house, so you can qualify for the mortgage and it becomes part of your mortgage. So each state is different in how they do things, but every state has some form of down payment assistance. So you should look, and even within the state, if you know you want to buy in Atlanta, for example, or within a certain town, let's say Orlando in Florida, right? I would look up Orlando down payment assistance programs because each town and each city may have their own down payment assistance as well. So definitely for Massachusetts, if you know, like you're gung ho, like I want to live in Taunton, Google Taunton down payment assistance programs and see what's there, because most towns have something, okay? And if they don't, they know some other organization or some other funder that may have money. I know that even within Boston, there are some nonprofits that have money to help people. It's been a little bit difficult because Boston is resource heavy at the moment, which is a great problem to have. So they can't give it away because the city of Boston's taking care of it, right? It's like they've covered the max that they can cover for a buyer so that this nonprofit can't give away their money. Great problem. How do you get the home buyer certificate? I can send that to Desiree to send out to you guys tonight, or you can go to chapa.org, CHAPA.org. Those are all of the certified programs that you can register to take the class. Most of them are online, they're virtual. There may be a few that are in person if that's something that you need. I recommend that you take that class. They range in price from like $25 to I think $50 if you're going to take the class on Zoom or in person. And then they have a self-paced course. If you're like, I don't want to do this with anyone, I want to take my class at 3 a.m. because that's when I'm free. They have a self-paced portal as well, and that's $75 to take that. But if you go to chapa.org is the easiest one. It gives you the list of all of the home buyer classes for the state, and you just pick the one that works best for you, as opposed to me giving you different organizations. Like if you go there, you'll find all of them. What is my organization and what are the services? So I'm with Our Village Initiative, and we help you with figuring out your budget, if that's what you need, helping you just understand your finances better, and then helping you through the home buying process. So we are more of a consultant just to be with you on the journey. And once we get you to the position where you're ready to buy, we can connect you to the lenders. We can help you build your team. So connect you to the lenders, to the agent, to the inspector, to the attorney. We kind of help you figure out how to interview people, how to select them, kind of go through the process with you. Is there a website to help you with the grants? Um, they're trying to create one. I don't know if there's anyone who has a thorough list because people keep getting money every all the time. But I would say Mass Housing Partnership or MHP.net. They have a map and you can click on it and they're supposed to direct you to the different towns that may have down payment assistance. But I would say if you know where you want to live, just Google the town and write down payment assistance after it and it will pull it up for you. Is there a specific name or term for these grants? Name of the town, down payment assistance, and it gets you there. Okay, I think I answered all the questions that were in the chat. If you guys have no other questions, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. And for me, I think the goal is really to have you guys take action. When I say there's a lot of money out there right now, there's a lot of money out there right now. And I really want you guys to take advantage of it. The Mass Dreams program had two components to it. There was one for those who made higher incomes, and there's a set for those who make lower incomes, and it's an AMI calculation. The one for those who made more money, that funding is gone. It lasted 78 days. So that's what, 2 months, and it was gone last year. So a lot of people missed that opportunity. There's still a whole other pool of money available. And I want people to focus on getting ready for that before that's no longer available. Because once it's gone, right? it's a grant. So it's not coming back into the pool for someone else to use, whereas the loans tend to come back into play at some point. So that's why I want you to focus on getting in position and getting your mindset, right? It's like, if I need to be on some ramen noodle diet for the next couple months, then I need to be on the ramen noodle diet just so I can hit that goal, right? If I need to not go out and it's hard, like I really want to take that girls trip to Mexico or to the Bahamas, like maybe ladies, can we do a staycation? Can we do something here? Or I can't go because my house is more important. Maybe get your friends involved. Hey guys, I want to buy a house next year. Do you want to buy a house next year? Can we hold each other accountable and be a team so we all buy houses next year? That's our goal. Like that's our flex for the year. We want to be homeowners. Start to help your circle change their mindset so you all get to that goal, because right now this money, like you all need access to it. Two of my closest friends were able to buy this year because they got access to this grant money. One of them got $38,000 in grant money. The other one, how much did she get? I think she got 32,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. That's money that they did not have to come out of pocket, right? That's money that was given to them. So now they are homeowners, right? They were able to accomplish that goal, not have a lot of debt, have equity because they decided to purchase now. I was like, you need to press go right now. Right now, you need to press go before this money is gone. So again, please tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone so that they can help hold you accountable to accomplishing your goal by the end. Thank you.